Thank you so much for being part of the Speaker's Pulse tonight. We want to welcome you again. If you're joining for the first time, the Speaker's Pulse is the show where public speaking actually matters. And we have spent a few fortnights, a few months speaking about matters related to public speaking. We've talked a lot about the art of public speaking. We've talked about how to deal with the nerves of speaking. We also spoke recently about how does emotional intelligence, the speaker's emotional intelligence, actually contribute to one's ability to communicate succinctly and effectively. And if you're interested in learning how to calm down the nerves, this place will give you a few nuggets to borrow when you go for your next speaking engagement. So there's no need to struggle. When the Speaker's Pulse is here, it's only for you, my friend. And therefore, tonight we have yet another great conversation that we will be leading you into. And before I introduce the topic for tonight, I'd like to tell you that my name is Joshua Tahinduka, and what a joy to be able to host the conversation tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation tonight is yet the one that has been on my mind for a long time. My friends have actually had conversations about it. I mean, those that are interested in the future of public speaking. And tonight we're talking about how do we groom the next generation of public speakers. I've met teachers, I've met parents that say, look, we don't know what to do. How do we support our students? How do we support our children? And tonight, look no further, my friend. For the next few minutes, we will have a wonderful panel of discussants. And these friends of mine, my friends, have done it, have seen it, and they are here to tell us that surely it's possible. And to begin with us, I have a special friend of mine. He's a fellow Toastmaster from all the way close to the coast. Well, I'm meaning Kenya, if you know what I mean. And her name is Sarah Adiambo. She is a youth leadership mentor, public speaking coach. This lady is a speechwriter as well. But above all, my friends, she's a founder of the Edge Life Skills Consultancy, and she is also the founder of the Edge Clubs. And tonight we have a wonderful honor and pleasure to be with you, Sarah. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being part of this conversation tonight. Now, we also have another gentleman. Those of you, and we all know, those of you that are in this country and know about public speaking or are slightly passionate, let me just put it that way, slightly passionate about public speaking, you know this gentleman. Jean-Michel is a famous name in the area of public speaking. And tonight, Jean-Michel is joining us to talk more about how we groom the next generation leaders. And those of you that are meeting Jean-Michel for the very first time, this gentleman is the founder of iDebate. He's an educator, he's a public speaker, he's a corporate trainer. But most importantly, he started iDebate, like I mentioned earlier on, an organization, a movement that has empowered a number of young public speakers, including myself. I have to be honest, Jean-Michel is a gentleman that impacted my life in a significant way. So therefore, having you here on the platform, Jean-Michel, speaks millions, if not billions, my friend. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Now, I think it's good for us to get into it. If I may just ask, when I go to speak or train people, they always ask me this question: how did it start for you? How did you summon the courage to do your first public speaking engagement? So I'm just going to put this question to you, and hopefully next time I could borrow one or two words from your beginnings. So I'm going to begin with you, Sarah. How did your journey of public speaking begin?
Thank you very much, Joshua, for that question. So my journey of public speaking started over 2 decades ago. When I was in primary school, I happened to join a public speaking and a debate club. And I did participate in a number of contests, which I must blow my own trumpet and say won ineffable accolades. And all this was driven by my mentor and number one supporter, who is my dad, as well as some teachers in school who back then saw something in me, and they continued encouraging me to speak. And so I did participate in debates in public speaking for about 3 years. And then When I joined high school, that passion just poof evaporated into thin air. Not because I was no longer enthusiastic, but back then, at least to the best of my knowledge, there weren't such opportunities like we have now. So I went into high school and I didn't hear of any public speaking or debate, organization or club. I did finish my high school. I worked for over 10 years. It was only, can you believe it, about 3 years ago that I got wind of a public speaking club known as Toastmasters that was promoting what I used to do back then, only now that it was a forum for adults. And I reignited, I must say. I always say that public speaking was my first love. So I reconnected with my first love, and I have never looked back since 3 years ago because I joined this organization in 2017. I have been passionate about it. It has brought back all those fond memories that I used to have when I was a young kid. And sometimes people ask me, is public speaking the only thing you do? I am that excited about public speaking. And because my work involves speaking for a living, because I am a trainer by profession, I tell them, yes, public speaking is what I live for. I eat, drink, and speak public speaking. So my passion for public speaking started over 2.5 decades ago. And I am more than glad that I have been able to reunite with it and see what I can be able to do to influence our leaders of today into becoming better speakers and leaders. Back to
One
you, Joshua.
you the living hope for all those that have dead dreams. So thank you so much. If anyone has a dream to be a public speaker, I think Sarah has showed us that you need to consistently follow that dream. Jean-Michel, I am among the very many people that are curious to know, how did your journey begin?
Yes. First of all, I'm very excited to be here, so thank you for the invitation. I think for me, I stumbled into it. Some people are very intentional in doing things, but for me, the reasons why I got to public speaking, honestly, is because I had gone to a rugby tournament and I was among the people in front whose only job is to get hit. So they hit me just like my position required. And I remember that I thought, you know what, I don't like this game enough to be able to live my life on the field. So I have to look for something easier to do. And I thought, just getting in front of people and speaking, that should be easy. So I went in, and that was the worst speech that I've ever made in my life. I was supposed to speak for 5 minutes, and for me, it sounded like I spoke for 3 hours. And then, secondly, I was supposed to, it was at school, and I remember I started sweating so much. And then also at the school, we used to wear a tie. And I had pulled the tie so much that by the time I ended, the tie was by my knees. And I usually tell people, you're doing badly when your friends can't even laugh at you. It's that bad. So yeah, and then from there, I'm also a quite competitive person. So I thought, there's no way I can't be bad at everything. I have to find something that I can do. So I started practicing. I did a lot of practice. I say I used to train in front of the mirror in the bathroom to basically say, I would look at the mirror and then I would start making a speech, just so that I can become better. And then from there, I mean, I fell in love with debate. I was not a big fan of public speaking per se because I think it lacked the edge to competition. Like for me, I wanted to be right. I usually say I was I was always the last. I was always the best, starting from behind in class, right? So if I could find a place where I could make everybody else feel dumb, the same way I used to feel all the time, that was it. That was it for me. So when I found debating, it's a place where I could have superior, I could be better than everyone. Never looked back. And I started in 2005, so it's been what 15 years now. Time flies. I don't know what time is going, but yeah. So it's been 15 years, and I've done every part from being a speaker myself to being a debater to being a coach, and I enjoy the coaching better, but you know,
Mm.
yeah. So that has been my journey.
So, I mean, thank you so much, Jean Michel. And both of you have told me your own stories, and both of you have also alluded to the work that you're doing, which is coaching, which is empowering other people. And I'm just reminded of the good words of Bill Gates, who say that the next generation of leaders, or perhaps the next best leaders, are those that are going to spend their time empowering other people. And that's something that you guys have embraced so well in a way that is quite significant. So I'd like to begin with you, Jean Michel. How did you begin with the idea of iDebate or any other initiative? Or maybe let me just say, tell us about the initiatives you're doing that are helping develop the next generation of leaders or speakers. And if you could also tell us how it actually began. And we just have maybe 2 minutes for that.
So basically, I should say my whole life in 2 minutes. No, but I'll be quick. I'll be very quick. So currently, I run a debate program called iDebate Rwanda, where we work with secondary students, and we teach them the art of argumentation, and then also public speaking. So it's debate and public speaking are quite interconnected. Whenever I'm teaching debate, the first hour, if I'm doing 3 hours, the first hour is just public speaking, because I say that's the entry point to actually teaching them now argumentation. So we currently work with 35 schools and in Kigali, so 35 schools with a plan that in the next 5 years, you're going to work with 230 schools. So we are on a run. We've been functioning for 8 years, and to be honest, we've just been trying to figure out what works. And now that we know what works, we're running. We're trying to get as much as possible. Personally, I started coaching. I think I love teaching. I love teaching. I love the art of empowering people. I've been doing this even before I debate. I was lucky to have a debate scholarship that allowed me to go and study in the U.S. For 4 years. I was on the debate team at my university, debating against some of the top universities. And then I always thought that to whom much is given, much is required. So every summer, I used to always make sure that when I come back, I teach whatever I've learned. And then slowly, I mean, you start off, you're just doing it because you want to give back. And then later on, when I came back, I thought, what if we could build in the U.S. In the weekends when we were not competing, we used to volunteer for an organization called Baltimore Urban Debate League. And what they would do is to get students, black students, most of them, from really poor neighborhoods, and then they would teach them debate, but in a very interesting manner. They would teach them how to advocate for themselves, how to advocate for their communities, and then so you have this activity that was mainly for white privileged kids who are preparing to be in politics or to be consultants and all these big things. And then now this activity was being now invaded by these black kids who instead of coming wearing a suit and a tie, they will come wearing baggy jeans and do-rags. And instead of quoting Nietzsche or Montesquieu or all these philosophers, they would quote Tupac. They would use rap. They would use as a form of argumentation. And it blew my mind. I thought, there's so many young kids in our country who are so brilliant, but they don't have a so brilliant, but they don't have a structure. I honestly still believe that the best speakers are going to come from Rwanda. But in order for that to happen, we need to build the structures and we need to build almost like a programs that students can do for years and years and years, and then they will be able to compete against anyone in the world. So for me, that's my mission. I've said that I'm going to retire when one of our kids can debate against a Harvard or Oxford or whatever university in the world, and they feel like they have the right to be in the room. They feel like they're as intellectually sharp, as articulate, and as eloquent as anyone else in the world. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to do, and that's.
Wow, what a mission, Jean Michel. What a dream, what a vision that you have there. And I have to say, you probably will be retiring very soon, because I have had the opportunity to see some of your proteges do an amazing job with that debate. And if, by the way, and I like I mentioned earlier on, if I have if a part of me has become better a speaker or anything, it's because of the work that you have done. And you can be proud if it behooves you to that you've definitely impacted some of our lives with your mission that you have to get every Rwandan, or perhaps get every young Rwandan to be comfortable to be able to communicate the way they want. I always say that public speaking is a fundamental human right. There should be one of those fundamental human rights, that someone should have the ability to say whatever they need. Now, earlier on, Sarah, you are nodding in acceptance, and it seems that your story is kind of related to Jean Michel's story. What is your story, my good friend Sarah?
Thank you, Joshua. Before I get into my story, Joshua just mentioned that he has a dream that the best public speakers will come from Rwanda. So may your dream come true, Joshua. But now that we are together in this forum, I truly hope that the best public speakers and debaters will come from Rwanda and Kenya, and will merge to make something beautiful out of it. So my story, as I alluded at the beginning, started about 2.5 decades ago. And then I joined this adult public speaking club, and I reunited with my first love, as I like to term it. And so in an effort to compensate for all these years that I had lost, I was always looking for speaking engagements in my club and in other clubs. I would practice in front of a mirror. I would speak to myself. Sometimes I think even in my dream, in the morning when I woke up, the first thing I would be doing is to rehearse a speech when I am showering, sometimes even when I'm walking in the streets, and people would think that I'm crazy. Some people would stop me and tell me what's wrong. So it got to a point where I needed to have somebody else to speak to. And who was better to help me with that other than my teenage daughter? So I would call her and tell her, please listen to me, albeit the fact that she may not have been giving me the kind of feedback that we would in our clubs. She would always tell me something like, Mommy, please smile a little bit. Mommy, your posture. And then her friends would come knocking at the door, and they would be like, Abby, please come outside. It's time to play. So she would tell them, no, I'll come a little bit later. I'm helping my mom out with something. And then it became like a song. Every time they come and ask for her to go and play outside, she would always be busy helping her mom out, because that's what I was doing almost on a daily basis. So one time, one of her friends, or a number of them, asked her, what is it that you're always helping your mom with? And then I told her, please tell them to come in and listen and also give me feedback. So now it became like a thing that every time I would have a speech that I was delivering, which was almost every week, during the weekends, they would come and listen to me. And then I said, why not switch this a little bit? Why not start teaching them a little bit of public speaking and have them even just say something small about themselves, even though it's in a sentence or two. And interestingly enough, a number of them, if not all of them, were enjoying it. And they would even come knocking during the weekday, and they're like, can we speak? Can we talk and you give us feedback? Then I told them, no, this can only be done during the weekend. You're just from school, you're tired, you have homework to do. And then it became a weekend thing. Then schools closed, it became a holiday thing, and the numbers grew. The parents started reaching out to me within our court and saying, we've heard that there's this amazing thing that you're doing with our kids. Is it possible for it to become like a well-structured program? And of course, now they were not able to fit in my little house. And so I approached a neighboring school, which was also doubling up as a church. and asked whether they would give us space to be doing this during the weekends and over the holidays. The school advertised this on their notice boards during their, should I say, parades and all that. And so I became known as that parent who normally offers kids public speaking lessons during the weekend and over the holidays. One thing grew into another. It became now a well-structured program that was being run every holidays and attracted a large number of people. And just this year, as I was preparing to do the same thing as I always do every holiday, which would have been in April, boom, Corona happens.
Pandemic.
Yes, the pandemic happens, and for a month or two there, I was stuck, and I was like, what am I going to do? How are we going to offer these kids this class? There's no physical meeting and all this. And then amidst all this, I think this is what they usually term as silver lining in every cloud. In came all these online platforms. I did learn a few ropes on what other people were doing. And on 1st of July this year, we launched our e-learning platform, which has attracted over 150 parents to sign up their children. Over 40 of them have already benefited from our program. We had our first cohort graduating about 6 weeks ago. Our next cohort will be graduating this coming Saturday, and then we segue into some online activities in the month of November and December. So I always say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This is something that started about 3.5 years ago. And here we are now talking to you, people who have similar philosophy and ideas all the way from Rwanda. And I'm excited. I can't wait to see what we can do together in this space.
Indeed, the excitement is evident, and having you here is definitely amazing and wonderful. And I want to thank each and every one of you that is tuning in. And from wherever you are, I've seen a number of good friends. I've seen Grace Njoroge. Thank you so much for being here. Freddie, thank you. I'd mentioned earlier on Michael Nawari. I see my good brother David. Thank you so much, David, for being part of this. You've not missed so much. Angela, my fellow Toastmaster, good friend, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And I can see Germain as well, a fellow Toastmaster. Thank you so much. I can see this has to be Alligator Makori, my good brother from Nairobi. Thank you so much again for being part of this. Yes, Edgar, it is a fundamental human right. We all should fight and make sure people are liberated. And then we have Natasha. Thank you so much for being part. You're saying that it's an inspiring mission, Jean-Michel. You are impacting a lot of people, myself inclusive, and that you mean you, Natasha. My first exposure to Toastmasters public speaking and debate was through iDebate. So already there is so much amazing stuff that is happening. So thank you so much, our wonderful viewers. And we also have, Jeannie, thank you so much, Janie. Thank you so much for being here. You say, wow, Salah, I love the story of giving your daughter's friend a chance to speak as well. Indeed, that's what people that empower other people do. That's what leaders actually do. Well, my friends, tonight we're talking about the topic that how do we groom the next generation of public speakers or communicators, even leaders in general. I want to put this question to you, Jean-Michel. Whose responsibility? Who do you think is primarily responsible for developing the next generation public speaker?
I think it would be hard to say that there's only one person who's in charge of that. But of course, I always say there's a few things that need to be there. The first thing is, of course, parents are the ones that are a bit, then it makes the work a little bit easier. But I also think that one of the things that need to happen is looking at it at a systematic level. Like there needs to be a way in which kids, straight from the time they're young, it is an expectation that they learn how to sharpen their communication skills. Because it's right now, it's no longer going to be a luxury, right? It used to be a luxury, but now it's no longer a luxury. This is going to be a necessity. So it's important that parents invest in that. But then secondly, it's also important that straight from the time they're kids, that means, through schooling, through even churches and different places, that we put in place the structures that will make it easy for the students to be able to learn. But for me, my main thing is parents, and then of course educators understanding that communication skills are no longer a luxury; it's now a necessity.
Well, thank you, Jean Michel. You raise a very interesting point to say it is going to take a village to raise a leader, and therefore, we all need to be participating. I want to ask you, Sarah, do you believe in the same way train of thought?
101%. Gone are the days when we would shelve these very critical and crucial skills to when maybe we join work, and then now we leave it to our employer or our supervisors or our colleagues to sign up some kind of soft skills training for us to be able to harness these skills. Look at it this way: our kids, right from the onset, they take up leadership positions. Maybe you are the firstborn in your family, and as young as the age of 5, you're already guiding maybe your younger sibling who is 2 or 3 years old. They speak every single day. Sometimes we think public speaking has to be in front of this big mammoth of people, a big crowd. And yet when they're playing with their friends, again, maybe that there are 5 or 10 of them, there is some kind of maybe instructions or directions that the team leader will have to give and say, okay, guys, this is how we have to play this game. Or maybe at a birthday celebration, your mom, your friend, your sibling is having a birthday, and then you are called upon to give a speech to the celebrant or to the group of people that you're talking to. So we need to let them know right from the onset that they are already leaders. There's a maxim that says the youth, our children are the leaders of tomorrow. I beg to differ with this school of thought. I believe that they are the leaders of today because they're already taking up these roles. They're already mentoring, they're already speaking publicly, they're already in school, maybe they're prefects and things like that. So in our own little capacity, as institutions, as individuals, as parents, we need to let them know that, you know what, you are already taking up these positions. So all we need to do is to come in and support them to believe in themselves so that they can have the confidence to strive to go to the next level. So I do agree with Jean Michel that they are our leaders, and we, in our small little way, can already start influencing them to have that mindset that they have what it takes to step in those great positions.
Now, again, you agree with Jean Michel, it's a fantastic thing, but it's going to take an extra something, an extra convincing to a parent or a teacher to say, look, things have actually changed. When you teach a child the public speaking skills, it's actually going to bring more value than what you're usually tagged in as just talkative or someone that is, wasting people's time. I come from an environment where people that are composed, soft spoken are much more celebrated, or were much more celebrated. I think things have actually changed. But Jean Michel, what are the immediate wins or values for a child or a young person to develop their communication skills, and how does that affect their education and potentially their career?
Well, Joshua, I would say that one of the things actually I would answer your question, but I'll also add one thing is that one of the things that we have noticed is that an increase in parents who are willing to send their children to come to any of our programs. So I was curious to see why. Was it that now they're convinced and all the work that we've been doing for a number of years now is taking root? But what I've noticed is actually it's not that. What has happened is that a lot of those parents are now going through issues at work because they are very brilliant, they are very good technical people, but then because they're not able to present some of the work that they have done, because they're not able to um, communicate, there is a generation of younger people that are coming into the workforce that are threatening their jobs. So what these parents are now doing is that they don't want their kids to go through the same thing. So they are now wanting their kids to learn how to communicate because that will give them an edge in the economy. So I think that what that does, so when we start teaching communication at a young age, what it does, first of all, the first thing I always say is then it gives people confidence. But I also like to, I always say, yes, you can learn how to speak, but once you have learned how to speak, the next stage is what are you saying, right?
Yes.
Because, you know, it is also important because otherwise we're going to create a lot of talk heads and a lot of these people who just say speak for the sake of speaking. And for me, I'm far more interested in what you're saying and then why. You know, it's still the same mantra, right? Like with a lot of power comes responsibility. So I always say words are powerful, speech is powerful, and words matter and words create. So then that means that as you learn how to communicate, then you have a responsibility to do it ethically, right? And then you have a responsibility to speak the truth. I always say to my students, I mean, one of the things that we always say is speak the truth, right? Where we are not training you so that then you become a person who uses their words loosely. So I think once people have gained that confidence, which is important, then there is, of course, an ethical element to it that we can't remove because otherwise it's too much power in a person who doesn't have ethics. It's dangerous. I mean, it ends up creating politicians or people who say whatever it takes just to get power, and that is dangerous.
So that's really, really important, Jean Michel, because honesty, I will always know from debate, from the debate 101, and you always told us that honesty is the best policy because it's important to speak what you can stand on and what you can prove, and because you have a good cause to that as well. So thank you so much for pointing that the fact that public speaking is such a crucial skill that we need even in our current professional day-to-day job. I want to ask you, Sarah, do you have anything to add in terms of the value of public speaking to our the younger generation of children, even as they grow in their ranks?
Maybe just to add on to what Jean has already said, and he seems to be saying everything that I plan to say. But it's one thing to speak, but it's another thing to speak something that should be spoken. So, and it's interesting that he mentioned our politicians because you will find a politician having been given 5 minutes to speak about a subject matter, and then they say, I don't have much to say. And then 1 hour later, they're still belaboring about the point. So just to reverberate what Jean-Michel has said, it's very important, even as we are teaching this young generation about the art of public speaking and debating, to know that every time you speak, you need to have a key message. What is it that you want us to take away at the end of it all? You're not just speaking for the sake of speaking, but you want your audience to have learned something, and not just learn something, perhaps to do something, what we term as a rallying call. So you talk to us about, for instance, we are now here saying how important it is to expose our children to leadership, matters, public speaking and debate. But should we be in a forum where this is the main objective of our talk, then we need to let them know this is the reason behind why you should join such forums or such programs. So to just repeat what Jean-Michel has said, it is very important that as you are communicating, to have in mind that you're not just communicating for the sake of it, but you should and you must have a key message to pass on to your audience. Back to you, Joshua.
Thank you so much, both of you, for at least helping us understand why it is important to develop the communication skills of these young children. I would also add that it helps also in the learning. As Jean-Michel mentioned, I think both of you said, it helps build confidence. And the moment you're confident, you know you're unstoppable. You know you can learn something, and you know you can actually do better because you believe in yourself. And that's something for me public speaking has given me, is the ability to know that it's possible. If this is possible, then even other things in your life will be possible. And therefore, it's a transferable skill. It's a skill that you can use all over in your life. And I always like to say, if you're a good speaker and you say all the right things, and with, of course, the sense, you are also much more likable. And I'm not into the business of getting all the likes everywhere, but that also gives you an edge in your life, because at the end of the day, if people don't have trust in you as an individual, then you've lost it. We are in a world of perceptions, and you know that people make the first impressions in the first seconds, and the moment you lose the opportunity to make the first impression, most of the time the chance comes with your ability, the first few words you share with whoever you're meeting, that keeps you, it puts you in a different class altogether. So therefore, clearly there's all the good opportunities that come with speaking. Now, my friends, both of you have done it. Both of you have gone out of your way to create platforms, to create opportunities for people to be better speakers and better, leaders at the young age. But I'm just wondering, are there some of the things a parent who does not have an opportunity to get hold of the edge, or even be part of the debate, what can a parent who has not accessed the tools that you guys have do to help their child become a better communicator and speaker? I'll begin with you, Jean-Michel, again.
Very simple. Every African knows when you're a kid, when you have guests, and then your parents make you stand up and give a speech to the guests. I think that's a practice that we should continue. Every time parents have an opportunity to let their kids be the ones to speak. And one of the things that the only thing I will add to that is then give your kids feedback, right? So once they have spoken, be like, well, on this part, I think you could have said it in a better way. This part you could have been, so that it becomes a practice. So they grow up knowing anytime there's an event at home, I'm the one in charge of this. I'll be the one speaking. The second thing is also learning happens. There are different ways that people learn, and one of it could be learning, asking students or asking your kids that every time they get home, they have to make a presentation of what they've learned. And it's an expectation. The same way you expect that kids will go home and do their homework, ask them to present to you what they have learned. And if they can't articulate it in 5 or 10 minutes, then it means that there's something that they didn't understand. Because you're working both on their intellectual development and their cognitive development, but you're also working on their ability to communicate. Because in French, they say, there's a saying that says, ce qui se comprend facilement s'explique clairement, which means that which is well understood can be explained easily. So what that means is that then if you ask your kids to explain to you what they learned, not just repeating, but just explain it to you and why it's important, then without knowing it, without them knowing, you're teaching them how to be comfortable communicating.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jean-Michel. Anything, Sarah, yourself, your parent, and in fact, the edge is a result of your passion for teaching, for empowering young people. What can you add on to that?
I would say to any parent listening out there, or to anybody who has an opportunity to influence a young person out there, let's not overthink it. Sometimes we make it seem like it's the government, it's a sponsor, it's an NGO, it's a donor who has to bring this thing to us for it to happen. Take example from the example that I just started with kids within the neighborhood, even without going outside there, in your homes. As parents, we can make our kids understand that to be a great public speaker, you don't have to be a Barack Obama, you don't have to be a Martin Luther King. To bring it back home here, you don't have to be a politician to be able to become a great public speaker. Let us break it down to them into small, palatable activities that they can do. As John has said, even just praying, simply praying and saying, telling your kid, today you will be the one leading the prayer for us. Today you will be the one reading the Bible bedtime story for us. Let them see that it is not that complicated. As we all know, glossophobia, the fear of public speaking, is the most feared thing. So sometimes they read about it, the fact that they know this is the most feared thing, then naturally they become fearful about it. But if we could even let them know, even as we are having our meals, that round robin talk that we can have together during meals, after school, and just discussing, so how was your day today? Like it is often said that the more you do something, the better you become at it. So starting from our homes by exposing them to these small little things that they can be able to do, to me, that already is a step towards supporting them to become greater leaders, greater public speakers. And then now, when things get out of control, we can think about who else to bring on board.
And then they can give you a call or even Jean-Michel to say, okay, we need more help. We need more technical support. So there you have it, my friends. We have no excuse for whatsoever to say, look, we are not able to do this. We are not able to do that. And we actually have the opportunity to help our younger siblings, our children develop the art of communication as early as possible. Now, I like the comment that Jean say that make speaking one of the games played in the house, and and dish out goodies every time they speak, and that's actually one of those things that you can do to motivate them develop speaking habits. And again, thank you so much, everyone that is watching from wherever you're watching. This is the Speaker's Pulse, where public speaking actually matters. If you're joining for the very first time, kindly subscribe to this platform so that you always get a notification, you get similar content, so that we can together make this world a better place through public speaking and leadership development. You have a chance to do that by being part of this great movement and supporting the work that the three of us are actually doing by continuously following what we do on our different social media platforms. You could look for iDebate, you could look for The Edge, and also the Speaker's Pulse is your place where you can actually get some of these things. And of course, we will be sharing details about the work that Jean-Michel is doing through iDebate, but also The Edge. You also get at the end of the day, through the comments at the end of this conversation, you can always access details of what these friends are doing, and you will be able to join, be part of this. And if you are one of those that can be beneficiaries or even support their work, please go ahead and do that, because you don't know how much impact you're creating. There's a few comments coming in again from Ali Makori. He says that we certainly need to nurture public speaking just as we nurture mathematics, arts, and so much more. If the mastery in anything comes from 10,000 hours, roughly 10 years of practice, we can and we should. He also goes ahead to say we can and should give our children the head start. And therefore, by doing this, we are enabling them acquire mastery of the skill of speaking through the small activities that we did mention earlier on. So thank you so much again for elaborating that. I just want also to speak for the teachers. I know, Jean-Michel, your work has done you've done tremendous work in reaching out several schools. You told us a good number of schools that you're reaching. What about the teachers that don't have those opportunities yet, but they feel they should help? And maybe some of them never got a chance to develop their communication skills, but as teachers, they are responsible. They feel that they should do something about it. What advice do you have for such as well?
First of all, that is, I think I'll give you, one of my coaches used to say that everyone is a public speaker. The question is, how good are they? So teachers are definitely public speakers. And usually sometimes I say that when I'm giving example of what not to do, I say, I give example of what teachers do. in terms of engagement, in terms of the way that they communicate. But I think that there are a lot of resources that are available, and actually, I'll tell you, Joshua. To be honest, I feel like this is an area that I debate needs to be better at, in the sense that how can we avail resources for teachers? I think that's the next frontier for us. How can we avail resources for teachers so that I so that they also have an ability to become better because they do want to. So I don't have a definite answer. I think this is what we are really trying to see if we can work on. And once we have figured it out, I think then we should have another podcast, and then I'll tell you what works.
All right, you know what? A promise is a date, and the moment I know that this material is out here, surely the speaker's spouse is going to be here, and we can come again and talk about a few practical ways to help the teachers become better trainers and coaches in the area of debates, facilitation, or public speaking, but also for themselves to become better speakers, because these ladies and gentlemen are shaping the nations in what they are doing. Well, Sarah, any ideas on how we can help teachers help young people become better speakers?
I think I'm also in that space where I feel like we still need to figure it out. But right off the bat, I think those who have the ability to, whether it's the government or other institutions, just like the same way we are saying these critical life skills should be exposed to our young adults at an early age. It's never too late. They say it's never too late to learn. Yeah, neither is it, are you too old to teach? So I think we can come together and see how we can bring this to our learning institutions, whether it means, because I know teachers from time to time go through certain courses just to either refresh or to update some of those. Back in the days, some of these things that we are doing now never seemed to matter. But fast forward, these are fundamental skills that not just teachers, but anyone out there, as John Michel has said, is a public speaker and should have access to such content. So I think we should start by looking at how do we bring this to our teachers, whether it means setting aside some funds or some resources to upskill what they already have, to ensure that as we move along, because they are the ones who will take our kids, or a majority of them, through these critical life skills. So let's start by looking at how do we bring this to them.
So thank you so much, Sarah, for that, and also both of you have been very honest people, and you refused to commit extremely and extremely maybe extreme and over, which says a lot about your integrity and your your leadership. And I definitely agree with you. If there is an area where we need to improve, is creating as many resources to help even educators do this kind of work. Now, I want to ask you, both of you, is there anything that can be done at the policy level to enable this happen? And I'm not pointing fingers to anyone, but I'm just speaking in general. Is there anything we can do at the policy level to help us unleash the potential of the young people in the area of leadership, communication, and public speaking to be focused? I'll ask you, Sarah, anything?
Sure, thank you for that question. I don't just say this because that's how I put my bread and butter on the table, but I truly believe that these critical skills, these very crucial skills, should be made mandatory. Let's not look at them as something we do on the side because we have some time off, or because right now it's the pandemic and our kids are stuck at home and we don't know how to manage them as parents. How about we look at it like these are a must to have critical skills? So if I was in a position to influence some of our policies, I would say let's start by making these critical skills mandatory in each and every learning institution.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Jean-Michel, anything?
Well, I think that sometimes when you say things like those, just like Sarah was saying, is some people don't believe you. But I'll give you an example. I think it was in South Korea. One of the things that happened in South Korea, and then yeah, and then I think in Japan too. One of the things that happened right after the Second World War was that they were looking at ways in which they can improve the the English of the of the young people. And one of the things that they did is they forced everyone to take a public speaking class from the time they were in secondary school. So at university, even at university level, everyone had to take a public speaking class, a communication class, and that has paid off, right? That has paid off, and they invested in a lot of extracurricular activities, which included debate clubs and public speaking, because they understood the importance of it. So, for us, honestly, I think that's one of the things. It's. By the way, we are having an issue in Rwanda. We are having an issue where now, even if you look at the last government retreat, one of the things that they talked about is the quality of education. And they said that the problem is that we have very smart technicians that can't express themselves in any language. And that is, I say, finally we have come to the realization, now let's do something about it, right? It's a great opportunity for, for Toastmasters, and Joshua, I really hope you take up something there at the university level. And then it's also a great opportunity for us to have programs that are quality programs that then we can scale to the rest of the country. So it's exciting times. Let's see where it goes. All the reports. There was a report that came out from the MasterCard Foundation about secondary education, and one of the things that they talk about is that one of the best ways to develop 21st century skills, which includes communication, is through extracurricular activities. And in African countries, we don't develop them because we think that they are taking away from the main curriculum. But the reality is now all the people who get in, there's enough research that talks about how those help develop leadership skills, communication skills, and all of that. So let's hope that's where we're going, because I think that's what needs to happen.
Well, they say that the leaders are dealers of hope, and therefore we have begun on a very good note, hoping that surely we can have a few changes in the way things are done. We can have more extracurricular activity that develop the ability of the students to be better communicators, to be better leaders, and take on the skills that they need to survive in this 21st century environment. And Sarah, you've also advised that surely if you can have more or make this a mandatory thing, that people who are in the education system, or young and old really, are able to hone their communication skills, we probably will be able to do a great deal. And Warren Buffett says that you can only increase your value by doing nothing else but improving your communication skills by a whopping 50%. You increase your value by just focusing on your communication skills and becoming a better communicator. And that's a chance that we have. And both of you have already showed us or mentioned to us in one or the other that this is a skill that you can develop, and this is very possible to help the next generation develop the communication skills. There's a comment from Regatta. Again, he says that great suggestion, Sarah. All our schools should have a public speaking course in their curriculum. So absolutely. So we hope that someone is going to take this on. And of course, there is, earlier on, Jean-Michel mentioned, and you also agreed, Sarah, that it takes a village to develop a great communicator. And we are not going to be pointing fingers. All of us are implicated. All of us have a stake to play in this. And surely, I believe that my fellow Toastmasters will continue to do some more, and the challenge has been thrown to us also to go to colleges and to universities, and do something. And I hope that this can be the beginning point of much more work. Now, my friends, they say that even the best dancers leave stage, and time has actually not been a very good ally. I just want to ask you, do you have any parting shots? And I'll begin with you, Sarah.
My parting shot is just what we have all been saying for the last 1 hour. that let's not wait for that manna to come from heaven. It takes me, it takes you, it takes everybody else, it takes the entire village to build a better society, a society where our young generation can be able to thrive, but they can only be able to do this through our contributions as individuals. Back to you, Joshua.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. There you have it. Everyone, it's our responsibility. Jean-Michel.
I'll end by saying that, we always say that we believe in young people, but, the best way to believe in them is to invest in them. So if we truly believe that they are, set up for a great future, let's put it in action. Let's invest in them, and I think that the returns will be great. The returns will be great, and yeah. So
So that's absolutely true. We cannot keep on singing the song that we believe in them. We just have to do something about it. And the time is just right. Again, Martin Luther said that it's always right to do the right thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of us are in this together to contribute in our own small or big way. And that's it. For the Speaker's Pulse, we've finally come to the end. We want to thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this great conversation. Thank you so much for sparing some time to honor our invitation. Thank you so much, Jean-Michel and Sarah, for your wonderful time, for your insights. And I believe that your work surely, this 1 hour that you've spent with us is not in vain. And I'm yet to see more partnerships coming up and more people and more schools having the opportunity to develop the communication skills that we need in this 21st century. Until then, my friends, may you continue to take good care. If you're again new here, please subscribe and always get an opportunity to have conversations like this. And we'll always continue to listen for your feedback. If you have anything to say, leave a comment. Please like if you think the conversation was nice. You can also reach us on social media at the Speaker's Pulse. That's on Twitter and Facebook as well, and we will get your feedback. Do you have a topic that you want us to talk about? Do you have an individual you want us to invite and an interview and have a wonderful time as we, of course, talk about public speaking? That will be an opportunity for us to fulfill your dream, and your wish surely will be our command. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been and will always be the Speaker's Pulse. Have a wonderful evening.